I know no one's gonna believe this, and I honestly don't care. This is more like last words, or a record in case something happens. I just needed to get this out there before tonight ends. I'm a single dad. My name's Eric. I'm 34. I live in a suburb about 30 minutes out of Boston. It's just me and my little girl, Amelia. She's 6 years old, smart as a whip, and has this insane ability to memorize things word for word. Her teachers say she's a little sponge, picks up everything, mimics accents, recalls things you forgot you ever told her. She's perfect, or she was. Until about a month ago, when that goddamn doll entered our lives. It wasn't a birthday gift, not a hand-me-down, not something I'd ever buy. She just brought it home from school one afternoon. She said it was from a lady who gave it to her outside the gates. I remember that moment too clearly now. I was pulling up to pick her up, just like any other day, and there she was, already standing at the curb, holding this dirty, old-fashioned porcelain doll with cracked cheeks and wide glass eyes that didn't look like they belonged to any toy made after 1950. I asked her where she got it. She said, "The lady said it wanted to come home with me." I laughed it off. Thought maybe one of the teachers gave it to her from the lost and found or something. I didn't want to be that paranoid dad making a fuss over a doll. God, I wish I had been. The first night the doll was in our house, Amelia sat it at the dinner table. She poured it water in a sippy cup, tried to feed it pasta. She even said good night to it before bed. It was cute, in a weird way. I figured it was a phase. She'd get tired of it and toss it aside like every other toy. But she didn't. The next morning, I found the doll sitting on the couch, not in her room where it had been the night before. I figured she brought it downstairs early, or maybe during the night. Then she started talking to it. No, I don't mean like the way kids usually talk to dolls. I mean full-blown conversations. One night I passed by her door, and I swear to God, I heard another voice, a deep, whispering voice. Too low to make out words, but it was there. I opened the door and found her tucked into bed, the doll in her arms, both of them staring at me like I had interrupted something. I asked her who she was talking to. She just said, "Nobody." Dolly was telling me a story, and that's when the nightmares started, mine and hers. She'd wake up screaming in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, telling me the girl in the wall was watching her. I'd brush it off. Growing pains, dreams, an overactive imagination. Then I started having dreams too. I'd dream about drowning, falling into dark water, something grabbing my ankles, dragging me down. And in every dream, I'd hear a little girl's voice whispering from above the surface, "You shouldn't have taken her." A week ago, I found scratch marks on Amelia's bedroom floor. Deep gouges in the hardwood that looked like they'd been made with a knife. She said it was Dolly's feet dragging. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. She told me, completely serious, that the doll gets heavy when it's mad, that it walks at night when I'm asleep. I started locking the damn thing in the garage every night. Every morning, it was back in her room, sitting on the bed, facing the door. Once I locked it in my car. Next morning, it was at the foot of my bed. Last night was the worst. I woke up around 2:30 a.m. to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. Light, deliberate, one after another, like someone trying not to be heard, but wanting just enough sound to wake me. I thought it was Amelia. I got up, opened the door, and found her standing in the dark hallway, eyes wide, staring up at me, clutching that doll tight. Her voice was deadpan, no emotion, no fear, just cold. "Dolly says you're gonna die tonight." That's all she said. And then she turned around and walked back to her room. After she said it, "Dolly says you're gonna die tonight." I just stood there, frozen. You know how sometimes your brain doesn't fully process what just happened? Like your thoughts are stumbling in slow motion. That was me. I wasn't even scared yet. I was just stunned, confused. "Amelia?" I said softly, but she didn't answer. She just walked back into her room like it was the most normal thing in the world, like she hadn't just told her dad he was going to die tonight. I followed her, obviously. She was already in bed, the blanket pulled to her chin, doll in her arms, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. I knelt beside her. "Hey, that thing you said, what did you mean by that?" She didn't look at me. She just whispered, "Dolly doesn't like when you ask questions." My blood turned to ice. I could see her lips trembling just a little, like she was afraid, but not of me, afraid of it. I reached out to grab the doll, just to take it away for the night, and her hand shot out fast and gripped my wrist. "No," she said sharply. "Don't touch her when she's angry." I've never seen Amelia like that before. Not ever. She's never talked to me that way. Never been hostile. It was like she wasn't in control anymore. I stayed with her until she drifted off to sleep. Then I quietly slipped the doll from her arms and walked straight down to the basement. I didn't just toss the doll somewhere. I stuffed it in an old plastic tub, wrapped it in 2 trash bags, zip-tied the whole thing, and locked it in a cabinet under my workbench. I even piled cinder blocks in front of it, like that would matter. Then I sat in the living room until morning. I couldn't sleep. I didn't even want to blink. Every sound made my stomach drop. Creaks in the walls, a pipe whining, the refrigerator compressor kicking on. But around 4:17 a.m., something else happened. Something I can't explain. Every light in the house flickered once. Just once. And the thermostat, digital, reset itself. The numbers flashed and then displayed. 2 o'clock. Like it was taunting me. I walked down the hall to check on Amelia. She was still asleep. But the doll, it was sitting on top of her dresser. Same cracked porcelain face, same glass eyes. But this time its mouth was slightly open, like it was smiling. I swear on my life I didn't scream, but something inside me collapsed. I couldn't breathe. I backed out of the room, shut the door, and just leaned against the wall trying to convince myself I was losing it. Except I wasn't. The zip-tied bag, the plastic tub, the locked cabinet, the cinder blocks. There's no way it could have gotten out. Unless I'm going crazy, or something else is happening here. I called a priest that morning. Didn't even care how it sounded. I told him I needed a blessing or a house cleansing or something. He was hesitant, probably thought I was drunk or high. But when I mentioned my daughter, he agreed to come by that afternoon. He showed up around 3 p.m. Older man, kind eyes, calm voice. Father Murphy. I liked him immediately. He walked through the house quietly, murmuring prayers under his breath, sprinkled holy water in each room. But when he got to Amelia's room, he stopped, mid-sentence, like his throat locked up. He pointed to the doll. "Where did that come from?" I told him the story, all of it, every detail. He nodded slowly, said he'd seen something like this before, but not often. "She didn't bring the doll," he said. "It brought itself to her." He pulled a small crucifix from his coat pocket and approached the doll carefully. He touched it gently on the forehead, and then, I swear to God, he staggered back, like something hit him, hard. His nose started bleeding. He wiped it with the back of his hand and whispered, "It's not a doll." I didn't know what that meant. I still don't. He asked me to take Amelia out of the house for the night, said he'd stay behind and deal with it. I didn't argue. I took Amelia to my sister's place 20 minutes away, told her it was an emergency, told her not to ask questions. Around 9 p.m., I got a call from Father Murphy's number. But when I answered, there was just static. Then a voice, barely audible. I couldn't even tell if it was him, but I heard one thing clearly, right before the call dropped. "You need to come back. It's not over." I sped home, heart pounding so hard I thought I was going to pass out behind the wheel. When I got there, the front door was wide open, and Father Murphy was gone. The front door was swinging on its hinges, just creaking slowly, back and forth. The hallway light was off, even though I know I left it on. "Father Murphy," I called out. My voice cracked. I wasn't even sure I wanted an answer. I stepped inside slowly. The air was wrong. It felt thicker somehow, heavier, like walking into a room full of smoke, even though there was nothing visible. I reached for the light switch, but the bulb just buzzed, then popped. Dead. I pulled my phone out to use the flashlight. That's when I noticed the floor, wet. There was a trail of water leading from the front hallway into the living room, like someone had dragged something soaking wet across the wood. I followed it. My heart was hammering against my ribs. Each step felt louder than the last. When I turned the corner into the living room, I saw it. A priest's collar, ripped and tossed on the floor. Next to it, Father Murphy's crucifix, split in two. And on the far wall, written in something dark, maybe blood, maybe worse, were the words, "I warned you." I staggered backward. I almost ran, almost left the house completely. But something told me I needed to know. I had to know. I moved toward the basement door. The water trail was leading down there. The door was cracked open. I pushed it with one finger, and it creaked louder than any door ever should. My flashlight beam caught movement halfway down the stairs. Something small, I thought. Rat? Animal? But no. It was too deliberate, too slow, almost like it wanted to be seen. It was the doll, sitting on the third step, its head tilted too far to the left, its tiny hands resting in its lap like it was waiting for me. I couldn't take another step. That porcelain face, it looked more human than it had before. The cracks had deepened like skin aging under stress. And the eyes, they weren't glass anymore. They looked wet, alive. And then it spoke, but not in my daughter's voice, not in any voice a child should have. It was deep, male, echoing, like it came from behind the walls, through the floor, and out of the doll's tiny, unmoving mouth. It said, "You tried to bury me." I fell backward against the door frame, nearly dropped my phone. My mouth was open, but nothing came out. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, just stood there staring at it, my pulse so loud I could barely hear the next words. "You shouldn't have touched her." Then I heard a noise upstairs. My daughter. She wasn't supposed to be here, but I heard her running, little footsteps sprinting across the hardwood, then the slam of a door. "Amelia!" I screamed. I bolted back up the stairs, every muscle in my body screaming to move faster. I reached her room, locked. "Amelia, open the door." No answer. I tried the handle. It wouldn't budge. I kicked it once, then again, finally shattering the weak door frame and bursting inside. The window was open. The room was empty. The bed was untouched, but written across the mirror in thick red streaks, "She's with me now." I ran through the house, screaming her name. I checked every room, every closet. Nothing. Nothing but silence and the feeling that I wasn't alone. I called 911. I told them my daughter was missing, that a man might have taken her, that a priest had been here and disappeared. They showed up 15 minutes later. 2 cruisers, flashlights, questions. But Amelia was gone, and there was no sign of Father Murphy either. No collar, no crucifix, no water trail, not even the writing on the wall. Everything was just clean, like it had never happened. But I know what I saw. And when they took my statement, I could tell they didn't believe a word. That night I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw the doll's face. And every time I blinked, I could hear it say, "She's with me now." At 2 a.m. exactly, I got a text from my own number, just one word, "Tonight." I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Then I heard it, a knock, coming from Amelia's room, slow, rhythmic, knock, knock, knock. I grabbed the bat from under my bed. I walked across the hall. The door was closed, light off. The knock continued. I took a deep breath, raised the bat, and flung the door open. It was empty, but the doll was sitting on the windowsill, and beside it was Amelia's shoe. I lunged toward the windowsill and grabbed the shoe like it could anchor me to reality. It was hers. I recognized the scuffed toe, the little sticker she had stuck to the sole months ago, a fading unicorn half peeled at the edge. But the doll, it sat perfectly still, not even tilted like before, just staring, wide-eyed, smiling, that God-forsaken smile. I wanted to destroy it, to hurl it against the wall, shatter its face, make it stop. But I couldn't. My hands wouldn't move. It was like something was gripping my wrists from the inside, locking my muscles. My breath caught. I looked into the doll's eyes, and for a moment, I saw her, Amelia, reflected in those cold glass eyes. Except, not really. She was standing behind me in the reflection, her mouth open in a silent scream. Her skin was too pale, lips blue. I whipped around. Nothing. The room was empty, silent. But when I turned back, the doll was gone. Just gone. Only the shoe remained. That's when I snapped. I ran out the front door barefoot, into the street, yelling her name like a madman. The neighbors came out, tried to calm me down. I must have looked insane, probably was. The cops came back, again. They searched the house again, told me to stop making things up, threatened CPS this time. They thought I hurt her, thought I was trying to cover it up. But I know what I saw. And that night, I stopped sleeping. I stayed on the couch, lights on, staring at the hallway. I had my phone camera pointed at the hallway all night, recording, just in case. 3:13 a.m. That's when I saw it, frame by frame. I reviewed the footage the next morning. At exactly 3:13, the hallway lights flickered, and something moved. A shadow, small, swift, crossing from the kitchen to Amelia's room. Then, the faintest whisper, in a voice I'd never forget. "I told you she's mine." I showed it to the cops. They said it was glitching. I took it to a priest. Not Father Murphy, he was still missing, but another one I found downtown. Father Elias, Eastern Orthodox, quiet man, wore a silver cross the size of my fist. He watched the footage, didn't blink once. When it ended, he looked at me and said, "You need to leave that house." "But what about Amelia?" I asked. "She's not there anymore." "Then where is she?" He looked down and said nothing. I begged him to help. Eventually, he agreed to come by that night. Around midnight, he stepped into the house, lit candles, walked room by room, chanted softly in a language I didn't understand. He wouldn't touch anything, not even Amelia's toys. When we got to her bedroom, he paused, didn't step in, just stood in the doorway. The candle in his hand flickered violently, and the flame turned blue. He whispered something under his breath and turned to me. "It's not just a spirit," he said. "It's an anchor." "Anchor?" He nodded. "Something cursed that doll. It wasn't meant for a child. It was meant to bind something here." I asked what that meant. He said something I still can't shake. "That doll doesn't want your daughter. It wants you." I wanted to scream at him, shake him, demand he undo whatever this was. But he was already backing out of the room. He told me he'd return the next day with someone else. someone more experienced. He never came back. I called, no answer. Visited his church the next day. They said he hadn't been seen since that night. Gone, just like Father Murphy, like Amelia. That's when I stopped trusting anyone. I locked the house down, boarded the windows, nailed shut the doors. I wasn't leaving until I got her back. I started seeing her at night, not in dreams, while awake. She'd be standing in the corner of my vision, behind doors, in mirrors, on the edge of shadows, always watching, never speaking. But the doll did, every night, same time, 3:13 a.m. Sometimes it would be on the stairs, sometimes at the foot of my bed. Once, inside the refrigerator, always smiling, always whispering, and always the same message. You took her from me. Now I take you. I didn't know what to do. I set up cameras everywhere, salt lines, bought every book on exorcism I could find online. Nothing worked. One night I tried burning it. I found the doll sitting on my desk, just sitting there like it always did, and I stuffed it into the fireplace, lit a match, watched the flames eat through its tiny porcelain face. It screamed, I swear to God, it screamed, a high-pitched, guttural howl that shook the walls. The flames went out instantly. The doll was gone again, and in its place, a single note, written in black charcoal on my living room wall. You'll die tonight. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even sit down. I stood in the kitchen, clutching a crowbar like it could protect me from the thing that now lived inside my house. At exactly 3:13 a.m., everything changed. The lights went out. Every bulb in the house popped at once, not flickered, not dimmed, exploded. Glass rained from the ceiling like shrapnel. My ears rang. The air went dead silent. Then from down the hallway, Amelia's room, I heard it. Laughter, childlike, innocent, but twisted, too loud, too slow, like someone playing a recording backward. I turned, ready to fight, ready to charge. But something was already standing in the doorway. The doll, but not like before. It wasn't small anymore. It was tall, human height, still porcelain, still dressed like a child's toy, but now grotesque. The joints cracked in the wrong places, its face cracked open on one side, revealing something dark beneath, like rotting flesh behind painted ceramic, and it smiled, wider than any human mouth could stretch. It lifted one arm and pointed at me. Then, in Amelia's voice, but warped, hollowed, it spoke. Daddy, she says your soul is hers now. I ran. Not away, toward it. I don't know what I thought I could do. I was crying, screaming, swinging the crowbar with everything I had, and I hit it, square in the chest. But instead of shattering, the doll absorbed it. The crowbar sank into its body like it was made of mud. Then it reached for me. I blacked out. When I came to, I was in the backyard, covered in dirt. Blood on my hands. Not mine. The back door was wide open, lights flickering inside, and the doll was sitting on the back step, cradling Amelia's shoe like a baby. I haven't been back inside since. I stayed in my car for 2 nights. Tried checking into a motel, but every time I left, the doll would be there when I returned. On the dashboard, on the hood, hanging from the rearview mirror by its own hair, always with a new message carved into its face. Why won't you let her go? She's mine now. You'll die tonight. That last one came the night I finally decided to burn the house down. I emptied a full tank of gas around the base, poured some on the porch, lit a match, and stopped. Because standing in the upstairs window, Amelia's room, was my daughter. Not the ghost, not a memory. Her, alive, pale, staring, motionless. She pressed her tiny hand to the glass and mouthed one word, help. I dropped the match, ran back inside, up the stairs, screaming her name. But the room was empty. Only the doll was there, sitting in the middle of the floor, and then the door slammed shut behind me. The rest is a blur. I remember clawing at the walls, hearing my daughter scream, then laugh, then scream again. The walls bled, shadows moved. Every surface in the room turned wrong, twisted, like the house was alive and feeding. I woke up the next morning, outside, lying on the lawn. The house stood still, quiet. No fire, no broken windows, like nothing had happened, except for the doll, now sitting on the porch with a new message carved across its face. You tried to take her back. That was 3 weeks ago. I haven't gone back since. I sleep in parking lots. I keep the doll locked in the trunk, wrapped in chains, inside a locked box covered in salt and symbols I don't even understand. It still whispers, every night. Same voice, same words. My daughter's doll said I'm gonna die tonight. And I believe her, because last night, the box was open and the doll was gone.